At Sunday's Super Bowl, the football was often slow, but the fireworks came when singer Bad Bunny went on offense in that lively halftime performance. The Puerto Rican superstar topped the charts in 2025, so many people already know and love his music, clearly. But the halftime show brings the largest audience of the year. So there were certainly some people introduced just now to why Bad Bunny is so beloved in so many countries. This performance showed his dance skills, vocal range, a penchant for celebrating others, from those salutes to the traditions of grandparents and family, wholesome picnics, to the raucous street parties, and even a moment where he handed off that new Grammy Award he just won to a child. Benito was fun and inclusive, yet still pretty cool and at times edgy, celebrating his native Puerto Rico and its customs and its iconography, while challenging the great power oppression across colonial history. Many saw this as a love letter to Puerto Rico at a time of well-documented political negativity and even hate towards that island and Latin people, whether they be legally settled in the U.S. or not, or coming and living from somewhere else. There were plenty of nods to economics and colonialism here. The show opened in a sugarcane field that so many people have toiled in, a reference to the territory's centuries-long colonization, as a Time Review notes. It's a parallel to how U.S. grocery stores and restaurants also still rely on people toiling in the fields. Some are legal residents, some are not, but that, of course, continues in the fields today, something that is the backbone of America's food supply chain. Now, this choreography and pageantry wasn't just art imitating life. Many moments actually involved real life. There was a real Puerto Rican icon, Toñita, who actually runs one of the last remaining Caribbean social clubs in Brooklyn to this day, as Rolling Stone noted. And that came during the song Nueva York, which celebrates the contributions of Puerto Ricans in New York, just as so many appreciate Little Italy in New York, or Italians' contributions across American life. The show highlighted dancers and Benito himself at one point climbing up a kind of sparking power line pole as he sang El Apagón, a protest song that is quite specifically about the island's well-known infrastructure failures and blackouts. Puerto Rico has had very serious electrical power problems. They've been worsened by the Trump administration cuts to hurricane relief funding, and the performance really brought those songs to life, music fans taking in the symbolism.
The power line workers. That part right there was so beautiful because he's reminding people, yo, el apagón means the blackout. You know how many times families have to deal with not having electricity? Like the privilege of having electricity that works and how it's affected the island over and over and over.
And by the way,
that is something to mark, to note, and yet still to dance or sing to, as so many musical traditions, like the blues in America, deal with reality as it is, the sad, the difficult, and yet still find uplift across that. Bad Bunny brought a lot of that together while also brandishing that gigantic Puerto Rican flag, which, we should note, was actually banned on the island for almost a decade, partly because that particular one is more associated with the political independence movement, which again goes to how America has treated this island and its people. It's a performance we saw that was political and joyful, that celebrated Bad Bunny's home, but also was generous of spirit in basically reminding people we all come from somewhere and there's a lot of movement in this hemisphere. Some don't like that, and I guess, as with others watching the Super Bowl, they just have to take their L. Music journalist Noah Shackman, the former editor of the Rolling Stone magazine, writing in the Times, said this was the cultural equivalent of raging about the end of the 8-track tape, referring to the Trumpian MAGA complaints. The change has already happened. And this sort of celebration of Puerto Rico on its own terms by such a favorite son comes, of course, after decades of well-known U.S. government interference across Latin America. So well beyond this island and the older colonial history, you have a lot of governments in the United States that have outright meddled or oppressed other countries in all of wider Latin America. Those are the precursors to what we just started the year with. Donald Trump basically extracting or kidnapping the current president of Venezuela, which is one of the countries that Bad Bunny shouted out. In the end, he had a message of love and unity, of a type of representation where he talked not just about America or a certain vision of Americans, but all the Americas. Spiking a football that says, together, we are America. What a different vision than what we are sometimes sold and told. Is it resonating? Yes, to record-breaking levels. We can tell you tonight this is on track to be the most watched halftime show ever, topping 130 million viewers. That's in the moment, basically. And we checked tonight the halftime show itself, that's people interested in what Bad Bunny did, separate from the whole game, has already passed 30 million views on YouTube, where it is rising. Bad Bunny has mainstream hits, melodies that viewers might recognize from their kids or cars driving by. And when you take it all in and you listen, some of those might have been familiar, like I say. Others were deeper cuts. That includes his 2020 dance song, Yo Perreo Sola, which is an anthem about respecting women and their rights. On one level, it's a song that proclaims people simply have the right to dance, even if they're dancing alone. In other words, esta canción celebra el respeto mutuo y la independencia de bailar sola, if it's okay to use both languages sometimes. But I want to tell you tonight, on another level, like so much music and culture, there are other levels to that song. It invokes dancing as a parallel for the human spirit, for each person's independence and their value, and how respecting individuality is essential, but it can also be done, I believe, and I think the song gestures at this, it can be done together. How fitting, then, that he performed I Dance Alone, surrounded by hundreds of dancers, as tens of thousands swayed in that crowd, and we now know over 100 million watching around the world. Because it's possible to be yourself, as he said at the opening, to believe in yourself beyond your wildest imaginations, possible to dance alone and together. A touching moment of community that maybe we all needed.